Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Mythgard and Middle-earth. My name is Corey Olsen, the Tolkien professor, joined as always by my friend Gryfflet. Sorry, I just started hearing an echo of myself in my own ear. Joined as always, as I say, by my friend Gryfflet, who is sitting next to the campfire only because I don't know of an emote. I wish I had a lounge emote, actually, right? Because then I could be a little bit more rangerly. Because you see, Gryfflet is doing his ranger impression, eh? Check this out. Ready? Here we go. Oh yeah, it was anticlimactic. There he is, in his worn ranger gear that he got for finishing his time with the Grey Company. So he's looking just like Daggeras over here. Like the two of them could be, okay, maybe not exactly twins. Fraternal twins, I suppose. Well, Daggeras kind of has that cooler, I mean, his tunic is cooler. There's just no two ways about that. And I don't know how he gets the gray boots. I didn't put on Gryfflet's hood because I thought the hood looked a little dorky on a hobbit. It's like, it looks like, you know, way too big for a little hobbit face. So anyway, so he was dressed in his ranger gear, so he thought he would sit next to a campfire, and he decided to shift from his Dunlanding garb to his. I mean, he was kind of cool doing the prison thing for a little while, and he might do that again at some appropriate point in the future. But he thought he would shift to his ranger garb because he's now dealing with the Rohirrim mostly, and he thought that maybe his Dunlanding garb might be misunderstood. So, you know. We'll sort of see how that goes. But anyway, I would welcome any dyeing suggestions that you guys had for the ranger garb. I wasn't really sure where to go with it. I actually had a couple flasks of even dim blue dye in my inventory, which that didn't pan out. Let me just say, I did not think that was a successful experiment at all. So anybody who has any suggestions because of course one of the things that there were of the many diverse reasons why even dim blue did not work for this was that the green trim here on his tunic stays. Like, it's only the background, you know, sort of tan that gets dyed. And the blue and the green was bad, even if, like, I could have handled him looking like a Smurf. So, anyway, yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, Druids, I know I can preview dyes. I just don't own many of them, and I don't have time to make them. So, anyway, like I said, I'm kind of taking recommendations, but anyway, all right. So, but here's Gryfflet. Meanwhile, in his still kind of, you know, relatively stealthy. I mean, look how close to this rock color he is, right? Between the cloak here and his sleeves there, right? He looks like he could be a little part of this rock. Plus, it gets to show off his studly ponytail, which we almost never get a chance to see because he's always wearing hats. But anyway, so just to sort of share my little cosmetic progress with you here, and darned if I didn't actually want another cosmetic slot. It's so bad. And I just bought my 5th upgrade to my dressing room storage space. It's so out of control, so completely out of control. But anyway, so yeah, like I said, happy to receive recommendations. So, but I should get back to exploring to exploring Nan Curunír here, which is where I am. Right, just checking out the weather. Okay, it's night with some attractive clouds. Right, 30% chance of rain in Nan Curunír here this evening. But good. Okay, so anyway, so I'm returning to Daggeras to talk to him because I killed a bunch of sentries. Right, okay. All right, so I'll tell him about the sentries. They're going to look out for themselves rather than looking for intruders. That's a funny wordplay there, Daggeras. I like it. Okay, it seems that one of Saruman's lackeys is making for the pass out of Nan Curunír, presumably to bring a message to the Dunlandings. Okay, so we want to intercept him. He should be passing by the Pillar of the Hand shortly. Deal with the sentries there before he arrives and lie in wait for him there. Okay. All right. I can do that, and I've also got some other things to finish up here. As you remember, we just all of a sudden the music begins. I had just finished with the what was I doing? Oh yeah, exploring the cave last time. So there we go. Ah, see, Finlay, that's good thinking. Finlay's thinking I could die at Olive and easily hide on the Rohirric Plains. See, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I mean, I figure Gryfflet's going to need to collect some kind of Rohirric cosmetics, right? When he's in Rohan. But in the meantime, especially while he's in the Great River, I think that the Dunedain set will do. So yeah, something that'll blend in. I mean, he's a burglar after all, right? So he needs to be stealthy. Stealthy, not flashy. Yet another reason why his Smurf costume was not my favorite move, cosmetically speaking. Okay. Much as I generally like even Dim Blue, which is probably my overall favorite dye. Oh man, I just finished that guy from like 12 feet up in the air with my daggers. It's kind of boss there, Gryfflet. Okay, oh, here it comes. And I'm stealthed. Where's he coming? I don't see him. Where is he? Oh, quick, stealth again, Gryfflet. Oh, there he comes. Boy, he's taking his time. I saw him using the slow post service here. Hang on, Dunlanding emissary. I gotta take a nap. Yikes. Hi. Yeah, in stealth mode, I'm about 3 times as fast as you. Hi-ah. Whoa. Okay, you didn't see that coming. Oh, did you just stun me? They always stun me so briefly I don't have time to unstun myself. Okay. Well, that was good. Alright, so anyway, let me finish off the other things that I'm doing before I go back to Daggeras again. So let me look at my map. Whoa, first of all, hang on. Okay, so, oh yeah, I gotta find the helm, spear, and shield of the fallen warrior, whose body I came across, and I need to find, I still didn't finish scouting. Okay, there's still a 3rd patrol point that I have to find because I got distracted by a cave, so that's fine. Okay, right, heading up north again. Okay, all right, okay. Sam, you think I should dye it black? I don't know about that. I mean, the black with green trim might look kind of fetching, like, you know, that might be kind of dapper. But I'm not sure it would be extremely stealthy. I don't know. But hey, I'm doing landscape quests in a landscape I've already explored last week. So that means lore questions. Okay, so let me go back to some lore questions that I have had that I didn't get to last week. Okay. 2 Anglo-Saxon related questions, sort of. One from JJ, whose language question from last week. Is the word Sax related to the name of the Anglo-Saxons? Okay, so first I have to contextualize that because this does not, of course, talking about saxophone. But this is a question which ultimately comes from the History of Middle-earth class, the Mythgard Academy class on the History of Middle-earth that we were doing. Oh, okay, getting closer to that thing. So we're doing the War of the Ring. And in the War of the Ring, we are at the place where we're up to the drafts that Tolkien wrote of The Return of the King, of Book 5. And we So the week before, this past week, we just did the Passing the Grey Company, essentially, and the Muster of Rohan. But last week we did the Minas Tirith stuff, Pippin and Gandalf in Minas Tirith, and looking at some of the original drafts of that. And in there, one of the kind of cool little items... All right, letting the warg pass. Okay, there we go. One of the cool little items was that Denethor, Tolkien kind of labored through several different drafts of what Denethor should call Pippin's sword. Remember, Pippin presents him his sword, and he comments on it, right? But what he should call it, by which I don't mean its name. I mean like the noun, the generic noun that he uses to describe it. Blade, sword, what is it that he calls? And fascinatingly, he settles on, in the first draft anyway, he settled on Sax, S-A-X. Minas Tirith. Denethor talked about Pippin's sax. And that word is a really fun word for a couple of different reasons. It's clear where Tolkien got the word. The word comes from the Anglo-Saxon word seax, S-E-A-X, which means a short sword or a big dagger, basically. It's a small fighting bladed weapon. And it's fascinating that he would do... First of all, it's not actually a word, really. Like, it's not a word in modern English. So Tolkien kind of makes up this word, but he makes it up on the pattern of a modern English word based on an Anglo-Saxon, because there are lots of words of this kind, right? Modern English words which derive from Anglo-Saxon words. So he makes up like a new modern word which is derived from an Anglo-Saxon word. So it seems like Tolkien is basically kind of trying to introduce this new thing into the language, which is fun, right? It's also fun from within the context of the story because it shows that he is working to make Denethor's language deliberately different and archaic, right? That's not a word that anybody, the hobbits or Strider or Gandalf or anybody ever used before in the text or any of the earlier drafts to describe the swords from the Barrow Downs. So that Denethor would do it sort of shows that his vocabulary is kind of different, which helps to explain how everybody talks, of course, about, how the manner of speech... Whoa, what's going on? Help. Okay. How the manner of speech in Minas Tirith is different from the Shire, right? And you can see in the earlier drafts he made those differences much more pronounced. The very first time he had men of Gondor, other than Boromir, speaking in the text was in the Faramir chapter, his drafts of the Faramir chapter. And originally, like Mablung and Damrod, the two Rangers of Ithilien who capture Merry and Pippin, were speaking in extremely archaic language, lots of these and thous, and very, very archaic, because he wanted to make that distinction, and then he kind of smoothed that distinction out over time. So anyway, but kind of interesting to see, like, okay, he's gonna do this like funky vocabulary thing, then it's interesting that he chose to do that in Denethor's mouth. So anyway, okay. So that's just to explain JJ's question. So her question again was that word sax, does Saxon come from that? Like, is there an etymological connection between that word sax or seax, which is that word for knife, and for the Saxons in Saxony? And I'm not 100% sure. I am not myself a philologist, so I don't make a study of these things. But as far as I know, yes, actually, there is a connection between those two things. And that basically, because I think that the Saxon, the Saxony is named after the Saxons, and the Saxons were originally called that, I believe, because they were like warriors that fought with blades. So I might be wrong. about this, and other people who know this better than I can comment on it. But that's what I think. That yes, there is a connection there. Now there was another question about Saxons and Anglo-Saxons. Come on, I can't even jump over that little tiny log. Oh man, come on. So yeah, the other question. And the other question was from Finlay777, who was asking about the Anglo-Saxons and saying that, okay, so the Rohirrim are based on the Anglo-Saxons, but the Anglo-Saxons weren't so much into cavalry. What could have inspired Tolkien to make Rohan a horse land? Since he was basing them on Anglo-Saxons, and the Anglo-Saxons were not really the horse lords, really, when it came to it. And that's a really interesting question. And I think that the best way to answer this, actually, it kind of dovetails with the other one in a sense, because it's to me a really good illustration of why it's so much fun and the kinds of things that you can learn from reading the History of Middle-earth series, as we've been doing in the Mythgard Academy class. So we've been doing the history of the Lord of the Rings, going through the sort of draft development, watching the story unfold, and sort of Tolkien's discovery of the story as we've gone through, which is just so much fun in a lot of ways. And there's a lot of really interesting things that you can learn from this. But this is the kind of question that you can find the answer to, it's not like it's there, in a sentence or a paragraph in the book, but you can begin to see the patterns. Let me talk to Dagaras here, and then I'll finish explaining what I mean by that. Hey there, Dagaras. So I got a bunch of things. First, oh yeah, this dude. I found here are his effects. You're gonna send it to Grimbold? Yeah, that's great. You suspect he was trying to find out where some of the horses stolen from the Rohirrim were taken. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Whoa, dude, I'm getting 70 grand XP per quest. I'm going to have to cap pretty soon here. Okay. Among the western hills, a great infestation of goblins and wargs has taken root. Yep, saw that. Across the river to the east, an encampment of orcs, Uruk-hai, this tribe is called. Yeah, I've met them. To the north on Isengard itself. Okay. Right. I agree. Let's proceed carefully. And I've dealt with the messenger. Yeah, don't worry, man. He wasn't going to get to Dunland anytime soon at his pace. Okay. Very good. Okay, so now what next here? Executioner of Isengard. Whoa. All right, a short while ago I saw a strange figure moving south towards the pass, but it disappeared. Stranger still, it left no trail. Uh-huh. Ooh. Oh, we got a little instance here? Oh, dear. No. I'm supposed to defend you, Dagaras? Oh, wait, no. It's not an instance. He tried to pick up his trail, but it was well disguised. Uh-oh, look out. I see. Oh, see, he's the executioner? What is he? Is he a... Okay, good. He's attacking me now. Oh, looks like a half-orc. Okay. I was wondering if he was like a Dunlanding or what his story was. Okay. Yeah, good. Yeah, he survived just because I was tanking for him, That's how we roll. Okay, no problem. It's been a while since you've allowed yourself to get caught unawares. Okay, but you're still alive. Okay, let's see. What do you got here? Oh, these are some generous offerings. A silk mantle, huh? Yeah, no. Let's see. I'm in the market for a new earring, but probably not that one. Yeah. Okay. All right. What know I of dwarves? Oh, yeah, I met the guy, and he's going to try to send me on a whole bunch of quests up there. Yeah. Den of goblins. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, the horses. Yeah, let's go after the horses. Okay, you spotted a number of horses being led past by goblins. Okay. The horses seemed wild. All right. Oh, right, because they were being herded by wargs. That's terrible. Okay. Maybe we can set the horses free. That sounds great. Okay, so where are we going? We're going... Oh, right up there. Oh, yeah, I don't have much hope for that. All right. Oh, I can't even see anything. I'm like walking into cliffs here. All right. All right. All right. So anyway, right. I was talking about Anglo-Saxons and how you can get the answer to how did they become the Horse Lords by reading the history of Middle-earth. So here's what you can see. When you look at the history of Rohan from the point of view, not from within the story, but from the history of the story, right? Where did Tolkien come up with that idea? And because that's what the question is, right? Why did he make them the Horse Lords if they were based on the Anglo-Saxons? And the answer to the question is they were the Horse Lords before they were inspired by the Anglo-Saxons, essentially. The very first thing, and this is not at all unusual in Tolkien's writing, the very first thing that we get of the Rohirrim is their name. Right? The very first references to the Rohirrim are in the discussions that, as I recall, I think the very, very first reference comes from when the company is debating how to get across the mountains. And, you know, like when they fail at Carathras and they're like, how do we go? And Gandalf's like, let's go through Moria. And everyone else is like, that sounds like a terrible idea. And then remember Boromir is like, hey, I've got a great idea. Let's go all the way down south to through the Gap of Rohan and through that way. That'll be good. And that's where the Rohirrim get mentioned for the first time. Okay, there's Ondor, and there's... Are the horses in the cave? What? Really? Oh, come on, no way. Oh, I wanted to help the horses, but I wanted to kind of not do all of Ondor's quests and not spend half my life in those caves. Hi there, Ondor. Which, at the time of that debate in the drafts of the Fellowship of the Ring, Ondor was still the name of Boromir's homeland. Okay. Woohoo! And just by meeting Ondor, Gryfflet is level 75. Okay. And whose cunning eyes am I supposed to put out? Goblins. Okay. Right. Oh, yeah, you know, Sam, I keep forgetting the treasure tracking skill. Here, I'll put it on. Keep forgetting about it. Okay. All right, let me see if I can find the horses at least, because that, you know, I can't hear about, like, warg riders taking horses captive and not look into it. But having already explored this cave, I'm pretty sure I know what has come of the horses that they stole if they ended up in this cave. So, you know, not encouraging. Anyway, okay, so back to the Saxons. So in that conversation with Boromir, between Boromir and Gandalf and the rest of them, the name, the Rohirrim, was a little bit different. But anyway, that name comes up, and and we know nothing else about them, and it's clear that Tolkien knows nothing else about them, right? So he had very vague ideas until the story got down into the Southlands. He had no idea of, like, the map or what was happening in any of these places. they were just kind of vague names. So you had Ondor, which means the land of stone, and then you had the land of the Rohirrim, which is the land of the Horse Lords. So you had the land of the Horse Lords, which was going to be some, like, you know, prairie area, some open prairie that the Horse Lords ruled, and then you've got Ondor, the land of the land of stone to the south of it. And that was like pretty much the extent of Tolkien's geography at that point. Like I said, he doesn't really work it out at all until he got much closer to it. Hang on, so I'm looking down around in the cooking pits, which is, I'm pretty sure, where I'm going to find horses. Anyway, so it starts off with the Horse Lords, and he doesn't really clarify. Not only does he not clarify where they come from, or like, you know, sort of more details about them, but yeah, he really doesn't know much of anything at all about them or what they're like or anything like that until he gets there. It's really not until, like, the King of the Golden Hall chapter, and he actually meets the Rohirrim, that he begins to kind of make them like the Anglo-Saxons. And I don't really think it was until he went to Meduseld and had you know, sort of described Meduseld, which was not originally called Meduseld, by the way, which means mead hall, right? But he hadn't quite gotten that far. Oh, hi! I found the cows. Where wasn't there? I'm sure I came across a gnawed-on horse down here. No, that's a cow. Yeah, there it is. Okay, just as I thought. Oh, let's go back upstairs. Okay. Anyway, all right. So, I was interrupting myself. What was I talking about? Gondor, Rohan. Yeah. So as he's describing Edoras, you know, as he's describing what will later be called Meduseld, he sort of made that more and more like an Anglo-Saxon mead hall, and, you know, he's describing Theoden and Éomer and even Éowyn, and it just, so like, the whole affinity between the Rohirrim and the Anglo-Saxon really seemed to grow as he started to picture them and they started to interact with him more. But they were still the Horse Lords, right? Already they were the Horse Lords. And the idea of the heroic ride of Eorl the Young was also a very early conception. So, you know, again, he wanted to keep them Horse Lords. So think about Eorl the Young. One of the really fun things is he imagines that, so you know where Eorl the Young first heroically rode down to? He was heroically riding down at one point, not necessarily first, but at one point Tolkien was considering having him ride heroically down to the Battle of the Last Alliance on Dagorlad, and having Eorl the Young come catastrophically to the rescue of Isildur and Gil-galad and Elendil, which is a little bit mind-blowing, right? So anyway, so yeah, so in its way, the conjunction between the, you know, Anglo-Saxon inspired Rohirrim and the Horse Lords, you know, so the bringing together of this horse-based culture and the Anglo-Saxon culture was something that just kind of happened, right? It was sort of a combination of two things and not something that he really seems to have planned in advance. Yeah, I mean, I've heard, sort of speculations that he, of course, there's like the story that he hated the Norman conquest, which he did, and sort of regretted the fact that the Normans ever conquered the Saxons in England, and of course it was the Norman cavalry which was the core of the Norman invasion force, and so if maybe if the Anglo-Saxons had been horse lords, they could have fought off William the Conqueror and the Normans, and then the Norman conquest wouldn't have happened. And so the Rohirrim are this kind of fantasy of his, right? Of like, what if the Anglo-Saxons had, been a horse-based culture, and this is, what could have been the culture that could have survived and fought off the Normans and stuff. That's kind of fun. And I won't say that isn't a concept that might have amused him. I'm not saying he didn't ever think of that, or that isn't something that ever kind of influenced his thinking. But it's clearly not what motivated it. It's not the origin of it. Because, again, you can see they were horse lords before they were ever Saxon. Okay. Well, Andor... Tell me this, Andor. If I don't go kill a bunch of wargs and goblins in those caves, am I going to not get any other quests in Nan Curunír? I kind of have to do this to finish the Nan Curunír quests, right? Because as those of you who have done this before will remember, there is a certain set of quests later on in Nan Curunír that I very much want to do. Or rather, I should say, there is a certain character here in Nan Curunír which the quests will eventually lead me towards, and I'm kind of thinking I can't really get there if I skip Andor's quests here. Oh dear. Anyway. Well, let me temporize, because one thing about today. So I have to leave a little bit early today. Quite early, actually. I've got to stop at about 2-ish Eastern time. That is in about 15 to 20 minutes, because I got to pick up my kids early. One of my kids has a dentist appointment early today, so I gotta go early. Rather than spending my last 15 or 20 minutes killing wargs and goblins, why don't I do some more exploring, and then I'll come back and sort out the quest thing later on. Right. Oh, hey, Peter. I didn't see you before, but I haven't seen you around in a while. Good to have you back. Okay. All right. I didn't quite make it up to the walls and gates. So let's check out the walls and gates from the outside here. All right. Sorry, Rosie. Sorry. I have to leave early on the day that you're late. Ah. I'm looking at the walls. The walls are just stone, right? So that in color, they seem to match Orthanc, but it's not like the Orthanc stone. That is, it's just rock. It's not the sort of special impregnable stone. Orthanc is in, this sort of impregnable stone made by the Númenóreans, and so are the walls of Minas Tirith. One of the reasons that the wanton, when like the catapults attack the walls of Minas Tirith and the Peter Jackson film, and they all collapse as if like the people who built them forgot to put any mortar between the rocks, between the stones of the wall. I mean, if huge stone walls were liable to just like collapse like dominoes like that when you hit them with a thrown rock. They would never really have been very effective to begin with, would they? But anyway, whatever. The point is that they shouldn't be. They should be the walls. The stones should just be bouncing off them. But these are not because these are not those kinds of walls. These are just rocks. In fact, as you can see from closer up, in fact, you can see it best of all from this angle, right? That this is a natural rock formation, which has been formed, not smoothed really, but formed into a ring. Yeah, so this comes from a natural rock formation, which is, was it builded? Was it just sort of shaped? Hey, and then there are these trolls. I could probably take these trolls. Yeah, how hard can that be? I bet if I took them one at a time, right, I could probably, I'm just kidding. Okay, so we've got simple banners. Notice, of course, this decorative work, right? This sort of gold work underneath the merlins here, and which matches above the doorway, and even in the arch. It looks like classic Gondorian construction there. Boy, the Warg Riders are like lining up. And I probably can't sneak past the trolls, but that's okay. I don't really need to, because I've spent some time inside of Isengard, and that's fine. Okay. Now what I want to look at over here is I want to look at the sort of joints here, where this, so many thorns, where it is, yeah, where the walls, the shaped walls, meet the encircling stone hills around here. And this shows there's a walk up on top of that. They flattened that out. That's interesting. I couldn't see that from the inside. I couldn't see it from the inside, and I can't really see it from out here either. That is, I can't see anybody up there. And I don't know if there's a parapet or just a walkway. I wonder. These things are really interesting. What is that? It looks like a pedestal. I called them merlins before, because over here, that's what they look like, up above the door. But not over here. What is that? Platform? Somebody stand on there? A little watch space? Or for like a stylite monk to hang out up there? I don't really know. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so what is the secret deed with the trolls? There's a secret deed with the trolls? So what do? How do you get Gatekeeper of Isengard? That's a deed? Do you get a title? You get a title for that? What do you do? What do I do with this cart? Nothing. I can't do anything with the cart. This is not a cart. This is a battle buggy. Look at this. Oh, yeah. Oh, what's up there? Can I jump on it? Yes, I can. Oh, it's just a bush coming through. I thought this was something like a bucket of ammunition or something. Yeah. I am invisible in a battle buggy. There I am. Okay. How fierce does Gryfflet look in the battle buggy? Can Uruks actually look over that? Seems like kind of a high windshield right there. Oh, I see. It's like a buckboard. You sit up there. So the people that back here don't. So you don't ride it like a chariot, you know, looking over the front and stuff. But you could presumably hang out the side, right? You'd be riding, well, you'd not be riding shotgun. You'd be riding, you know, I don't know, spear side or something. Okay. Oh, so you get... Oh, if you kill them both, you get the title? You just have to up and kill the trolls? Oh, well, that doesn't look hard. But I suppose Gryfflet probably really can't solo them at this point, so that's fine. Alright, let me explore one other last thing while I'm over here. Can I cross the ice in here? Is there a bridge? If I jump into the Eisen, will I be able to get back out? I want to go over to that camp because I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to understand the sort of strategic position here. How are they? Because that's obviously on the other side of the river, right? Because the river comes up here and flows right next to Orthanc, or not right next to Orthanc, right next to, you know, Isengard, to this encircling ring. Okay, yeah, this looks nice and gentle. All right, I'm going to swim over the Eisen here. Okay, see, Blake says, why is it that Saruman's tower looks evil even before he is? Well, first of all, although the tower predates Saruman, his evil does not necessarily predate his occupation of it, right? So you can't rule out the fact that he thought the tower looked a little bit evil from the beginning was, you know, one of the reasons he wanted to be there. I'm joking about that, by the way. But anyway, the tower, it's a little sinister looking. Of course, like part of the sinisterness, hey, there's another word. We don't have a noun form. This is not a noun form of sinister, is it? Is there? The sinistry, sinisteritude, sinisteriness. Boy, sinister's a really hard thing to make a noun out of. Sinistrosity. Yeah, I kind of like that. Sinistrosity, Phil. Okay. Yeah, anyway, part of the sinistrosity of Orthanc, the apparent sinistrosity of Orthanc, is its blackness, right? I mean, it's got this sinister black stone, right? But that's a Gondorian thing, right? I mean, the Gondorians, they were into black, right? I mean, you know, black is the old black when it comes to Gondor. So, I mean, as you know from Minas Tirith, it's one of the things that I know the game devs were, you know, Chris Pearson and I talked about this. I remember he showed me Minas Tirith from a distance a couple months before it was released in the game when I was visiting the offices there. And, you know, one of the things that I was really struck by as soon as I saw it, and he was really proud of, was the fact that its walls, it's called the White City, but its walls are black, right? They're the same black as Orthanc. Anyway, so that's pretty cool. Can I sneak along the outside of the walls of their little campment? A little fort. Is there any room here? Uh-oh. Big stump. Up and over the stump. Okay. We're in the brambles. There's a banded coffer. That's a good sign. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. No, big wall of stone. I'm trying to get around the back side of this camp without having to sneak through it, because I'm on level over here, and I'll probably get spotted and then die. But it's just about time for the stream to end anyway, so nothing ventured, nothing gained, Gryfflet, right? Oh, it's the stump again. Okay, over you go. All right, and then the rock. Okay. Over. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so anyway, no, the outer walls of Minas Tirith. But wow, look at that corpse just kind of lounging there, propped up on its arm still. Huh. Okay, let's see. Can Gryfflet sneak in? Yes. Good job, Gryfflet. Right. Let's hug the outer walls. Okay. Let's see if we can get around behind. I want to see where it goes. Okay. Anyway, all right. So, back to Orthanc for a second. I'm getting distracted from my lore question with my little explorations here. So, the horns on top, okay, it's not a friendly look, right? I wouldn't call it an intrinsically evil design. But I am willing to say that I do think that Tolkien might himself have fallen prey to a very simple kind of mistake, right? I mean, there are places where there are things which were designed, supposed to have been made by Gondor in the time of its glory, but which have been since taken and turned to evil purposes, right? Orthanc is one of those. But he doesn't physically describe it. He doesn't design Orthanc. And his very careful descriptions are being followed here in the game, and he didn't just describe it, he drew it himself. He drew several different versions of it. Sketched it. So, and his drawings and sketches, they're not until after. I mean, he's drawing the, Tower of Evil of Saruman, essentially, when he's doing that. And I think that he, although, of course, it fits within the whole larger schema, right? I mean, the whole, raised by the Númenóreans and all that stuff, right? It's not that it doesn't fit within the world or that it's inconsistent or something like that, but it doesn't quite show as a it's hard to see it as a previously benevolent structure, because it does have a certain degree of sinistrosity. Okay, here's what I was looking for, the back door. Let me explain why I've been exerting so much effort here to find this back door, and that is, I wanted to travel south down this bank of the Isen. Remember I said before, the larger question of the tactics of the battles, the Fords of Isen, which Tolkien goes into some detail in Unfinished Tales, all hinge over which side of the river are Saruman's armies going to come down. And the Rohirrim have a serious problem because, the Fords of Isen is a strategic point. It's the bottleneck, right, which they can protect in order to defend against, for instance, a force of Dunlendings coming into into Rohan, right? So they've got the Fords of Isen as a choke point. Through the gap of Rohan that the Dunlendings will come, and they. Oh, look, there's some Dunlendings here. That's ominous. So they're used to defending that, but their problem, and Tolkien is fairly clear that the sort of the tactical vice that they're trapped in, by them I mean Grimbold and Theodred, is that the Gap of Rohan is an excellent defensive position if you're protecting against an army coming from literally anywhere but Isengard. Isengard is meant to be essentially a part of the defenses of the ford, right? But since from Isengard, yep, and here we have made it down to the Gap of Rohan and the fords of Isen from the other bank. That's just what I wanted to see if we could do, and yes, they can. So Saruman could march that army of Uruks in that camp right there straight down this bank without any problem. And we've got some Dunlanding scouts and stuff down here. And it gets a little rough here, but that's not really a problem at all. Yes, so he can come down and attack from either side. So they don't have anywhere that they can defend. If they fall back to here, right, which is sort of their last gasp here, if they fall back to here, they've already surrendered the ford, right? So I mean, the whole fort is lost to them, and the whole, which gives them a very significant tactical advantage in defending. If they come out to the ford and defend out here, then they can be trapped, and the armies can come down both sides of the river and smash them from either side. So it may, so on the one hand, it's like you must hold, the Rohirrim must hold the Gap of Rohan and the fords of Isen at all costs, and yet with Isengard against them, the fords of Isen becomes a death trap. And that's, of course, exactly what ends up happening to Theodred and Grimbold. So, anyway, that's what I wanted to see. I mean, you may remember I was kind of commenting on this when I was looking at it from the other side, and I wanted to see, is it possible to come down? And yeah, they have preserved that difficulty. And I will be interested to see if this is something that Theodred himself is actually thinking of. Oh, I love being able to see just the little silhouette of Orthanc there in the distance. How ominous does that look against the white clouds and the blue sky? Yeah, there's a certain degree of sinistrosity there, I have to admit. Yeah, definitely. Okay. Excellent. Okay, and having made my way back down to the fords of Isen and outside of the depressing Curunír, Gryfflet's going to have to make his way back up there, of course, in order to return to his... I think he's going to have to go back and kill some wargs and goblins, but that'll be fine. We'll get some time to do some lore talk discussion next week. I will be here next week, so I look forward to seeing you guys then. Thanks for joining me. Sorry I've got to take off a little bit early, but off to drive children to... their duly appointed dentist appointments. This is, the glamorous life I lead. So thanks everybody for joining me, and I will see you guys next week. Bye. Thanks for joining in on my rambles around Standing Stone's brilliant digital adaptation of Tolkien's world. If you enjoy these adventures, please consider supporting this and other entertaining educational programming by donating at signumuniversity.org/fund.